Everybody's a nerd at something.
In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Geoff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Geoff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives them a microphone, a podcast and a guest, and the overwhelming ego to believe he can make everything better. Today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by comedian Grant Allen. Grant, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Geoff. Thanks for having me. It's this is gonna be fun. I've got notes.
You've got notes. You know it's going to be good when you got the guest has got notes. Right. First of all, Grant, I think you're quite local to me.
So I'm a Portsmouth-based comedian, but I do perform all over the South Coast. Occasionally go up to London, occasionally go further north and all that, very occasionally. But mostly you can find me on social media. Facebook is the easiest one, Grant Allen. This comedian page you can find. Recently did Teddy Rock's big festival down Blandford Forum Way, the cancer festivals, the children's cancer charity festival. So it would be good if you could give them a thumbs up as well and a follow. You can find that on my page as well. So yeah, every little bit helps with that. So.
And how long have you been in comedy? Because I know you were saying before, still quite fresh to it. How's it going?
So, I've only recently kind of broken into the paid kind of work middling and doing a bit of opening for silent comedy. But I've been doing it since sort of 2018, like back end of 2018. But then COVID happened, and then nothing happened for like 2 years. So there was quite a big break in between. But yeah, once COVID lifted, it kind of came back with a vengeance. It was fun. It's been an interesting learning experience, being on stage and getting as much stage time as I have. So yeah, it's given me delusions of grandeur, I think.
Yeah, it has that risk. I mean, well, it's part of a great scene. So Portsmouth based. I mean,
Yeah, but I would put Portsmouth up with anywhere else in the country personally. But
well at the moment, and we've had quite a few acts on that. They're either Portsmouth based, Southend based, or come to
yeah,
the area. And I mean, it's got to be time for some form of festival like. There's enough talent to draw.
yeah, definitely, there absolutely is. But at the same time, there's not many venues that put on shows
No,
very often because it is. It's a bit of it's not a risk necessarily, but you don't know if you're going to pull the punters, pull the audience. But now that we're getting more notable acts, hopefully we'll be able to pull something off. So
crossed, yeah. And let's face it, every venue's turning into flats anyway. But
yeah, well, exactly.
so that's a very Portsmouth kind of based view. Oh, we get into the politics of Portsmouth. No, but I'll tell you what is it, right then? What is it that we are making better today?
So right, it's nerds and nerddom. So I feel like I need to establish my credentials before I really go off. So I'm a nerd.
Cool.
I'm a big nerd from like Star Trek as a kid. Like I remember watching Buck Rogers, Space 2000 AD? No, Space 1999, wasn't it? Where the moon blew out of orbit. And the 1960s, when I remember watching, I was a big fan of all of that. Like one third of Star Wars.
But yeah,
Yeah,
pretty sure I can guess which third.
yeah. Second, I've been playing 40K since second edition, which was 90s. And I'll complain about comic books like The Fountain or V for Vendetta, Watchmen from Hell, or how they got it wrong, or whatever, the best of them. But I'm even missing GMing my Malifaux RPG game tonight to be here. So
Hey, do you know, I have no idea what that means, but I very much appreciate you not
So an
you being
RPG is a role-playing game,
okay.
and the GM is God. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm the one that reads the book and tells them to.
wait, so
Yeah.
is this a live thing? Is this online? What?
No, we do it like I host it. It's a couple of my comedian friends and a couple of my other nerdy friends, and we like I've written the adventure and I
Oh,
send them off and do like play my game. Yeah,
like
we just play a story.
obviously the mainstream thing, like Dungeons and Dragons. Is it that kind
Yeah,
of
it's basically that, but in a different
format?
setting. But yeah,
Yeah. Ah, do you know? Oh, I'm so jealous. I am desperate to
we're
get
going it.
into it.
Yeah.
I've got the Dungeons and Dragons starter pack, and I haven't opened it. Like I've got my family and people who want to come start it, and I was ready to go, and someone's like, "Yeah, this will take about like 3 days." I'm like, or 3 nights. I'm like, "Wait, hang on, I haven't got that time just yet." But so I'm like,
So
but now
yeah.
now it's been so long that I'm never going to find the right time. Sorry, that's
Well,
a massive
I
segue, but
forced it. So I said I'm going to block off like every other Wednesday, and every other Wednesday is going to be my RPG night. Like
yeah,
if I'm going to do it, I'm going to block it off. It's going to that's going to be it. I mean, obviously we work around each other when we have issues, but like usually if I've got a gig or I'm doing like something like a podcast like this, we'll postpone, and if somebody else is like working or there's like, but we try and keep it as rigid as possible.
that's fantastic. And you
Everybody's
write
got
you
lives. So
yeah, and you write the campaigns. Is
So
that
I wrote the campaign. It's a whole homebrewing campaign, and there are a bunch of
ah,
terrorists that are pretending to be theater people. So
I love it so much.
yeah,
Well now I'm even more grateful that you're here. Because like I
yeah,
say, that's the level, that's the next level for me. That's what I need, that's what I want to get to.
yeah.
Um
That's
okay, sorry, carry on with what you were saying. I got very excited about that.
so through my experience with like like with 40K, I used to paint little plastic soldiers, and I still kind of do paint little plastic miniatures and all that kind of stuff. But there was like a even then there was like a hierarchy of nerddom where well, like you'd be painting your little plastic soldier, and you'd look over at a kid who was playing a card game and go like, "Look at that nerd," and like, and like, but like comic books were like the great, But then the thing is that what when nerds really love something, they ruin it.
Yeah,
They like through like there's many different ways that they ruin it. One of them, the example I use is Glee.
yeah.
So Glee, if you're not aware, and like, I only found out this through research because a friend of mine was a really big fan, and then it really tailed off in the later seasons, didn't it? It was like a massive show, and then it just became complete garbage as it went on, and that was because they had a really like active social media presence on like Tumblr and Reddit as well. But so was the show, like the main showrunner Ryan Murphy, which it turned out was like showing up to Kathy Bates's house in Misery and asking, "Would you like to give me notes on what I'm thinking of writing?" Because we're all aware that nobody on these internet forums where they're obsessed with one particular thing and it's one particular thing that they've created of this creation, their fandoms and all that kind of stuff. There's nobody more protective
Yeah,
over like an IP than the turbo than the nerds and the nerd like and that goes from things that you would consider stereotypically nerdy to football. Like if you know, like my dad is encyclopedic on who won leagues certain years ago, and that is nerdy as hell. Like that's the nerd itself. Like it's just as nerdy as like I know the Enterprise E had I think it was 64 decks, but I think I might be wrong. But like it's that sort it's that sort of nerdy. And like because like it's yeah so yeah like I said showing up to Kathy Bates' house asking for notes is something I'm quite proud of wrote and like another example is the like Rick and Morty fandom. So like I like Rick and Morty, it's a funny cartoon and everything, but it sort of like added to the delusions of grandeur that a lot of these fandoms have, where they thought they had to, you had to be like you have to be a certain level of intelligence to enjoy this cartoon. No, you don't. Like it's a
yeah.
cartoon where the guy has a magic gun that takes him to like different like magical lands. Like
it,
that's
yeah, it's one of those. Oh, if you don't like it, oh, it's okay. You just don't get it. Well, no.
Like, no, it's just like the guy's a scumbag.
Yeah, I
Like,
enjoy it. I like
yeah.
it, in the relationship and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, but I know if you don't like it, you don't get it. Like, well, that's no. That's not. You're not
You
at
just
this
don't
high
like
level.
smart tunes.
Yeah, smart tunes.
Yeah, but like they all just become like horrifying in some way or another. All the fandoms do, like this. I remember Sanjay was talking about the con where it was a bright sunny weekend and he was outside and there were a lot of the cosplay girls and he felt for his own like to take like to show that he wasn't one of these creepy dudes he had to take his sunglasses off so he wasn't associated with them, and that's what happens to a lot to like a lot of us
But
who
to
enjoy.
show that he wasn't eyeing up, like he was just
Yeah.
there to part of it. Oh, bless him.
Whereas everybody else was clearly.
Oh, bless him.
And that's why I love Sanjay because he thinks about that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's, he's a funny guy. I know, but it's shit because it does draw certain. I know you got certain stereotypes, don't you? Like, and if you look at across everything, and even if it's WWE or wrestling, um, that's ruined a lot by so I used to watch quite even up until
Yeah.
maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it's just ruined for me by fans. I just didn't enjoy watching it, and when you go on social media,
Yeah.
the algorithm pushes it on your face, and you think, well, that's something else that's ruined.
So I started watching a podcast over COVID called Reliving the War, which is a podcast of a guy basically uh, commentating, like not commentating, but doing like a quick, this is what happened on WCW Nitro on this Monday night, and this is what happened on WWF
Yeah,
Raw this Monday night. And then, like, so I started watching that because it was set during, like, obviously the Monday Night Wars, the beginning of the NWO, DX, and like Steve Austin. And he started it, like, right at the beginning when Razor Ramon got fired from WWF and showed up at WCW. And you want a war? I'm gonna give you one. And that's the beginning of the Monday Night Wars for him. Um, but yeah, like yeah, I get it. Like, and there's also some IPs, like some things that have been so tainted. Like, my God, if you've got something to say about My Little Pony nowadays, like you can like,
is that bronies?
yeah. I mean, it was even in Deadpool, wasn't it? When like he was on he had the My Little like.
Yeah.
It's so prevalent. It was Ryan Reynolds is making jokes about it. Like it's
I don't, you know what, I mean, I one of these people. I really believe that everyone is love what you want to love. Like when it comes to fandom, I don't think there's anything pure. And a lot of kind of inverted commas geek related things, as opposed to sport, they're identical. It's just a different. It's the same passion, but for something different. And right, and that's fine. People should be allowed. But there is this, I don't know, militant aspect to certain fandoms, and some are bigger than others.
yeah.
And on wrestling, obviously, with the birth of AEW, now everyone just hates each other. When it was, why not just enjoy that there's more out there? You've got, yeah, that's like a proper sport football kind of rivalry.
Even
Um,
in like the golden era of wrestling, everybody who watched ECW hated the guys that watched the mainstream stuff, and the WCW fans probably there was crossover obviously because people who like wrestling, like it doesn't matter. You just gonna
yeah, that is, and it's like, oh well, if you like real stuff, or if you like just go and enjoy what you like to enjoy. But also, you know what, if you are I don't know. It's because it's the depiction, isn't it? Comics. Oh, comics are for kids. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's storytelling, and not everyone enjoys reading a 300-page book.
yeah.
Because as we know now, certainly in 2024, not everyone learns the same and takes in information the same. So comics or
Yeah.
podcasts and audiobooks and video, that's fine. So a comic is fine. But then it doesn't matter what the person likes within that comic or within that collection. I've met so many collectors. I go to well, I've got a comic collection. I've zombies is my thing.
Yeah.
Walker Stalker, like I what is wrong with enjoying something and just enjoying it?
Yeah.
Why get me this? I mean, there's like Swifties when it comes to music, and I don't want any Swifties to hear this, clip it up, and then get
After you,
gang
and you'll have
after
a
me.
fatwa. And then there's
What was that?
you'll have a Swifty fatwa. And
That's
then
that's it. K-pop. Like it's just you can't say anything without just getting you don't like it because you're this and that and that. And I actually
yeah, I
don't
don't
mind
think it's
Taylor Swift.
necessarily be like because that obsession has been around forever. Like even from like the Beatles and like even probably before that, I bet people were showing up to Beethoven concerts that would come. I bet there were. I bet there were people
And
just
I
they
love it.
just loved it.
If you don't
But
like
it's
Beethoven, then you just don't understand it. Like art thou does not understand.
but I mean that I like punk music when I was growing up as well, and there was a lot of punks that had the same attitude and all that kind of stuff. And that, but it's the militant like this is my thing. It like when that's reflected to be like, and the artist owes me something because I love this so much.
Yeah,
Like that's where like the real toxicity starts. Like that's where I think it comes. Like where it really starts coming from. Like, and you see that a lot with the K-pop stuff. You had that poor girl who had to break up with a boyfriend because like.
yeah. It's absolutely absurd. I mean, you mentioned Glee. Now, this was actually something you mentioned kind of in our communication leading up to this
Yeah, yeah.
about. I say I won't try and summarize it. So, well,
But
it blew
basically
my
this,
mind. Yeah, explain
yeah.
it for me.
So basically, this Ryan Murphy guy was really active on social media, and it was great at the beginning because it really helped grow their demographic and grow the people. But with a massive net comes the crazy as well, and those people who were obsessed with Glee, who then it reflected and it became the love. They became the Nurse Ratchet of these fandoms, like these different boards about and like they're big. Everybody was chasing the different relationships, weren't like that was the big like the following thing. And like if the relationship didn't go how it went in what they were calling headcanon, which meant things you come up with in your mind that you expect to
Yeah.
happen, there were not riots necessarily, but like death threats made to like it got ridiculous, and it's become the norm. It's become just how things operate. I remember I don't know when you kind of got on the internet, but I was on sort of like really like on my own as not necessarily an adult, but old enough to know better. In like 2008, which was like the back end of like the real wild west of the internet, where like you could have a MySpace that it could get attacked and it could like, where people could post anything. Like that was where like the goatsy thing came from. That dude holding his bum hole open and like just horrendous things. And I was a fan of it was a New York radio show called the Opie and Anthony Show, and they had these fans called pests. And what they would do is because there was all that inter-fighting with different radio shows, they'd all like to try and drum up people listening. When the fans of this particular radio show would hear something bad said by somebody else, they would attack, and it would start with the MySpace page. They would get that closed down, and then they would start ringing into the show to like thousands of them, to the point where nobody else could get like they couldn't get another call in. And the way these American the talk shows worked is they worked on callers, and if all you're getting is callers ringing you up and giving you like plugs for comedian tour dates for comedians that had just appeared on the Open Anthony radio show, or they were making jokes from the Open the catchphrases and stuff like that, and it would completely ruin shows. They'd have to go off air, and like that would
Oh,
happen to people. Like where you'd wake up one morning because you said something wrong about like a couple of characters on a cartoon show or something, and like it would just be hate mail, and like it was.
Wow.
Like it was it was a ridiculous time for the internet. It's one of the reasons why Tumblr eventually shut down because it was just people like who seemed to have severe personality disorders. Like,
I love that Wild West, the lawless times of the internet.
it was a mad time, wasn't it? Where I bet you ruined your family's computer with LimeWire.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, that's because that. I mean, did so with the kind of the Glee situation? Did it actually have influence over what happened to the characters
So
then?
Ryan Murphy was the creator of the show, and he was one of the main writers. And my understanding is he was active on the boards, and he read the
It,
comments,
it was take
which is the biggest mistake you can do as an artist because you'll start questioning yourself then, and then that's not where the flow comes from. You're trying to please everybody.
Yeah, enough people want this to happen, so let's put it in, and
Well,
it
it
becomes
seemed like
forced.
enough people, but it was just people making a lot. It was just a few people making a lot of noise. So, you think if there's 300 people on a message board, but you've got an audience, like for Glee, it was probably 30 million people at its height.
Yeah, I was a Gleek or
I mean, like
Gleekaholic, you know.
it was all over the world. Like it probably started that whole, well, it was definitely a part of that whole Glee Club, like
Yeah,
summer, I suppose. It's like you had,
yeah. It was kind of when you had what was the Zac Efron started in the old High School Musical, which
School
was
Musical, but
obviously
that
for
wasn't really a Glee Club, was it? That
no
wasn't that
that was
that
a
had
sing on, but
background music.
it was it was I don't know, like it was a follow on from that, but it was a progression. It's slightly more adult or certainly older, yeah, young
Was
adult.
that? It
Oh,
was that. It was sort of a time where there was
but
lots of weird
it first,
American college club competitions, weren't there? Like lots of those sort of films that sort of
yeah,
had a happen.
yeah, that's it. And yeah, I mean, Pitch Perfect, but I'm
Yeah,
sure it had
that's yeah.
one Pitch Perfect one is one of my favorite films. I'm not ashamed to
No,
admit that.
no, it's a
Um,
banger. It's definitely up there with.
I'll never forgive the girl in Pitch Perfect 2 who tried to ruin it with by just putting their own song in. I mean, who does an original song? You know, that's ridiculous. We won't get to that. But I do like I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
the outburst from Series 7. I enjoyed season 7. Did what I want to happen at the end happen? No. Am I gonna
Well,
cause a
that's the whole point
riot?
of Game of Thrones. But it was really like that battle. That was it. The Battle of Winterfell. That was a bit of a letdown, and I couldn't really see anything.
Yeah, yeah, it was dark. There's
And
there's a lot going.
I'm not a medieval historian, but if you've got great big walls and zombies coming at you, I know the big wall means you just poke the zombie in the head, right? As it comes up the wall.
Yeah, hey, I get it. But then Walking Dead, I tell you what, every time I've watched Walking Dead, I sit there and we say, do you know what all they need to do is if they just they're all sat there walking around farming. Now you got to have some people just sharpening sticks.
Yeah.
Like, and if you've got enough
And
sticks, then you're
in The
fine.
Walking Dead, they're always going through chain link, not like 6 foot stone
Yeah,
walls.
yeah. But it's but even though it didn't necessarily meet my expectation or what happened didn't like John and the sorry, spoiler alert for people that haven't seen something that's finished five
You're
years
not
ago,
missing
but
out.
but yeah, there was no John versus Ice King. There was no, Jamie ran off and went back to Cersei when we all know he should have gone with Like, yeah, I get that it didn't happen, but I think so many people built up what they thought, what they wanted to happen. It was going to be
Mm.
ruined, even if the shot for shot was fantastic and you could see everything, and it all made like because the relationships didn't work how people wanted them to, they were always going to kind of rubbish all over it.
Yeah.
It almost didn't stand a chance. But if it was made a bit better, then it probably would have stood more of a chance. I do get that.
It's like the plot points hadn't been quite so lazy. And there appears to be
Yeah.
an infinite number of Unsullied as well. And those ships that they keep sinking. Like
There's there's a lot of. I mean, at some point they're just gonna be able to walk across the water because there's that many sunken ships.
I
But
mean,
then
just on
all
testicles alone from the Unsullied that keep turning up. Like,
the testicles of that. But then also, but is that thinking too deep into it? When you start thinking, "Wow, there's an awful lot of Unsullied." Yeah, it's like
I don't
I
think you should abuse the suspension of disbelief of your audience. I think that's a bit like
yeah.
I don't think that's fair to like.
Uh, I I appreciate that. That's a very fair comment because you
Because
can't.
otherwise, then there's no jeopardy against your hero, then is there? Because I mean, like obviously Conan the Barbarian's always going to win, but when he was on the Tree of Woe, it looked like it was over for him for a bit, didn't it? Like,
I I love that proper old school Conan the Barbarian reference. I
yeah,
love
like
that. So, what
everybody.
there's gonna be so many
It's
people
not a
listening
great
saying,
film,
"What?"
but there's greatness in it. Like,
Oh, I love that. Do you know what? So this is a massive side. I quoted a lyric just like to a 20-year-old of Freebird by Leonard Skinner, and they were like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Oh, have you heard of Leonard Skinner?" Like, did you spell that right? I was like, I'm old. I'm old. That's it. I'm officially old.
yeah.
Uh, but I also think though, I love this conversation because you've got Marvel and DC and the tribalism of those two
Yeah,
camps, and
that's yeah.
like DC, oh well, it's not for kids like Marvel, and Marvel's like, yeah, but there's an actual story in the future, unlike DC. And you're like, but it's like how's that? People just enjoy it. Like you've got no
And
skin
I
in the
think
game.
they've misunderstood like with DC, Warner Brothers have like completely misunderstood the point of the DC like hero kind like James Gunn's kind of gone with it now, but they missed the point for ages, which was they're gods. Even Batman's like he's part of the pantheon. Like he's able to hang with them. Like he might like he's the Hercules of the group. But and they're not like and they keep trying to like oh we're gonna base like the Batman Begins. Whilst it was an amazing trilogy when they go like yeah we're gonna base Batman in like actual modern day it could be Chicago kind of a thing. Well, I hope not, because what you would have to do to Bruce Wayne to turn him into Batman is a horrendous experience. Like he's like, like I hope that doesn't happen to somebody in real life because it's like if you like, there's been so many things Bruce Wayne did where you just like that's just torture. Like, that's
Yeah.
just like and not
Oh.
only that, if somebody is that intelligent, like I would really hope we could turn that like genius intellect to something that's not vengeance. But
Yeah, just go around beating up people in a suit. Oh, yeah. I think it's but when you look at it as well, though, like fantastic take by the way. But yeah, with all the problems that you have with DC and all the problems you have with Marvel, like like the fandoms just ignore their own and will attack the others instead of just sit there. I will sit there and I'll watch a film. If I like the film, I like the film. I'm probably a Marvel guy, but that's because me and my wife and my children we've grown up watching them together. Like over
and
the
if
last
that's your first exposure to it, like Iron Man, like everybody knows Spider Man and all that kind of stuff, but like like what became the expanded MCU with Iron Man.
yeah.
Who was excited when like Iron Man was on live and kicking? Nobody. Like everybody was waiting for the X-Men to be on, weren't they? Like
Like, okay. And I'd say I'm loving the new X-Men. I've gone back and watched the old ones. Also, but on the note of old school cartoons, when are we going to get a mask? MASK. When's that getting a reboot? But I
so
love
all
that
you're gonna
transition.
get is like with the mask, you're gonna get either you do it like to the comic book, like the original comic book, which was kind of darker and a bit meaner, and everybody's going to complain it's not like Jim Carrey. Or you try and do it like
Oh
Jim
no, no,
Carrey.
no. Sorry,
Oh, what the cartoon mask?
as in the series where
Oh,
you
yeah,
had
that was. I think that
the
was that.
car that
That's a
could
bit.
fly
Yeah,
and not
I think
Jim Carrey
that's
stuff.
either a bit earlier for me, or I missed out on that
Oh
because
no, I'm
of
really old.
Transformers.
It was kind of the alternative. You have people in
Yeah.
cars that could fly. It was great action. Um,
I yeah, I
but
was Thundercats as well, so that was a bit.
and why they've been teasing for so long.
They did do a Thundercats reboot, I think.
What, as in the
I
kind of
think it was
live
on
action
Netflix.
or animated?
I think it
Yeah,
was on
they
Netflix
did.
animated.
They did an
Oh, you mean
animated
like a
one.
live action
I
one?
want a live action one.
Ooh.
I and at some point we'll do a special of who you're going to cast, but it's
I mean, if
I
you want
think
to do
there's
that, I could do that for 3 hours on a modern X-Men. Like, like you know, we were talking about how I'm not getting like how like if you're so wrapped up in what you're a fan of, if it's not exactly like it is in your head, you're going to be disappointed. That's where I'm at with the X-Men with that.
it does 3 hours. Go.
Easy.
That's it. Your time starts now. It's I, I hope they get it right at some point. I really do.
I
Like,
think they're in the process of trying to work out how they're going to do it. But the easiest way to do it is just say, "Oh yeah, it's in Infinity Gem radiation activated the X gene, and if you got snapped, it probably activated your X gene." Done. How easy is that? And he explains, so you can explain Apocalypse.
yeah,
Apocalypse was around at the same time the Tesseract was on, and it went buff. And whilst he was in the womb, it activated him up. That's why he was all screwed up. You got a bunch of people that were in New York when Loki was with the pokey stick in people.
pokey sticky people. Technical term. Yeah,
Yeah, they're going to have kids, and that's going to cause the X gene. So you suddenly got like that's how you get like your Scott Summers, your Jean Greys, and all that kind of stuff. Then you get to have the snap, which suddenly you've got half the population that might have that. Like the X gene should still be relatively rare, but half the population that did disappear, half of that, like whoever's got that many, so that's half the X gene population, and then
good done. I love.
easy.
I
How
love the
difficult
thought
was
that's gone
that?
into
Like,
it. Yeah, I love it.
like yeah, they were really rare beforehand.
and that's it. And
Magni,
you've got mutants. Job done.
yeah.
Because surely they would have turned up at some point in the MCU at some point of like in the last 20 years to help out
I
maybe a
would
little
just
bit.
say the whatever made Quicksilver super fast and Scarlet Witch able to tap into whatever it was, activate X gene from the.
Yeah, job done. Well, if nothing else, that's introducing the X-Men to made better. Oh man. So what like
But it's not
is
done like
there
that. If they try and make it any more complicated or try and do their own.
you know
Oh,
they're
sorry,
gonna
yeah, carry on. I think
overcomplicate
we've
it.
gone. Yeah. They don't overcomplicate. Like that's what happens with a lot of things now. It gets overcomplicated because they try and please everybody. They're trying to fit everything in so
Yeah.
they don't get yelled at. But part of being an artist is some people aren't going to like what you put out. And
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's true with everything. And also the more
I,
especially if you're looking at films, the more films you produce of a series, the
yeah,
worse it's going to get until finally you kind of struck gold again when you hit, I don't know, number four or something. So I just say you've just had a thought. What was that?
yeah. I do appreciate that I'm in a position where like at best 80 quid a night is what like I'm doing if somebody doesn't like what I do. These people are playing with 200 million pound budgets and things like that. So I
Yeah,
do. I appreciate there is a
a slight
slightly
divide.
less risk in my
Oh, no, it's good. I mean, are there any? Is there anything you really enjoy where the other side, like you hate the other side? Like, is there a fandom that you're a part of, or something you don't necessarily fan of, but if there's something you enjoy and you just do not like the other side because of the
But yeah,
content or the
so
fans or anything?
it is for the most part. 40k, anything tabletop related, like the games that I play. So I, for the most part, play a system called Malifaux, which is like I really enjoy. I really enjoy the setting. It's like set like like Edwardian period. But steampunk and magic. So
Okay.
like whilst there's there's steam powered automatons like TikTok walking around from Return to Oz, bimbling around, but there's also dudes with heads on fire and they're able to throw fireballs and things like that.
Fair.
So that's fun. But also 40k, like that fandom, the people that really love it are quite tough to deal with, and I'm not happy being in the spaces anymore. I'm not happy being around them. They're very we don't get political on this show, so we won't. like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of I think it's the insular nature of a lot of fandoms. I think there's a lot of it's like a weird delusion of grandeur that leads to isolation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a weird like um there's
Gate.
a lot of people in fact like especially like tabletopping and all that kind of stuff. They are very intelligent people, actually young men for the most part, but they are very intelligent people. But they're so used to being the most intelligent people in the room. When they get amongst each other, they have to and it's not the same sort of energy as like a like what I'm used to, like the biggest guy trying to like work out who the biggest guy in the rugby changing room kind of is, the biggest guy in the mess net kind of thing. It's a very different kind of energy, and there's a lot more like under like to like push you out rather than just let you carry on. There's very odd energy in there. Like it's
And that's, I mean, that's quite, I know, that's weird to me because
like
surely
a
it should
conform or
be.
else like you conform. Yeah, it's like a conform or you're not welcome kind of a thing. Like it's
Like you've got these people who are gatekeeping a game for everyone, but you kind of, because I'm assuming that if you've got enough people,
yeah, and it's
if you
both
tell enough.
sides of it. I'm not saying it's one particular side of the spectrum. It's both sides. It's the people. Like people broadly are the same in that they hate two things, and that's the way things are now and change. And like you've got the people who want to change things for what they think is the better, and you've got the people who don't want to change anything for what they think is the better, and they're both sides of the same coin, and they're both terrible, and they create a vortex of awfulness in the fandoms where everybody's too scared either side to be um doing anything other than tiptoeing around things. And sometimes you have to tell people, no, you're both wrong. Or no, you're absolutely wrong. Just
And
stop
you're a
it.
bit
Just stop
right. So
it.
are there literally two groups of people playing the same game but differently?
Like broadly in like a like it's been like a weird, especially in 40k. So 40k, they've historically their big main um like action were Space Marines, and they're the dudes in the power armor. The big super soldiers. Like since Rogue was it Rogue Trader was the original what is called first edition 40k. Space Marines have been around since then. They're the big seller. And historically, they've always been men because the genetic modifications only work on men in puberty, is what they've had in the thing. And lately, there's been a push to create female Space Marines. Who cares? It's one of those it's a silly argument to have because it's a sci-fi semi-horror IP. Like the whole thing is a horrendous. It's like if you were to live in that universe, it would be a horrendous experience from start to finish. And regard like I don't think you'd be going. No, I want to be taken away from my parents at 12 years old because I have homicidal tendencies and have my body split open and turned into a super soldier. That sounds great. And they've also and there's also been a thing that they've just released where they also have like the guardians of the Emperor of Mankind. They're called Custodes, and there's now female Custodes. Again, who cares? But it's caused such a big stink
Oh,
on either side. So you got the one side who are like who are the nah, they shouldn't like the no women in the thing like they have their like because there are um purely female factions as well. You got the Sisters of Battle who are like space nuns, the Eldari who have male and female warriors. You can't really tell; they're all a bit androgynous. Um, and then you've got the other side who are this is a good thing and we should keep going for it. And they seem to be like a really big group, but the assumption is on the other side that they call tourists. And this is where the gatekeeping thing comes from, where like you kind of agree with them because you're like, oh no, I get it. Like I got into this thing and it was that art, and then when you realize, oh yeah, but they've retconned the plot to the setting at least 3 or 4 times. Like they've changed certain bits and they've done like, and you didn't care then, so why should you care now? And that was immediately when I dropped the argument in my head and just went, who cares? Like it's just like either you like it and you'll participate in it, or it will ruin your day and you don't play it. So don't, it's going to be one of two things. I'm probably not going to play it anyway, but like it's
yeah, yeah. I love that answer. You kind of realize actually it doesn't matter. Like if you
and
enjoy
especially
doing
when
a
there's
thing,
yeah.
you'll enjoy it. Like because also in a couple of years' time, if you carry on playing despite the fact that they've made this change, then do you know at some point you're just gonna be playing that game and enjoying that game. Like all the time you let it upset you, you're you're not helping yourself. You're just making something you enjoy miserable. Like
Yeah.
why would you do that?
So about 10 years ago, I think it was about a decade ago. It was a while ago. It might have not. Games Workshop have two main like their main tabletop games, or that was historically what it was. You had 40K, which was the sci-fi one, and Warhammer Fantasy, which was the fantasy side of things. And I think it was about however long it was ago. They decided to shut down the fantasy game and they were going to change it up and refresh their fantasy line and they were going to call it Age of Sigmar. And this set some people off. There, there were people who there's videos of people setting fire to their collections. There were people who are like, I'm never going to play this game again, like because
Wow.
it takes it's not a cheap hobby by any means, and it takes several years to get the big the brigades of troops and everything like that. And what you have in your mind, like I'm going to build up, like I have like they're called Space Wolves. I have a company of them, which is like over 100 miniatures. It's a lot of stuff.
But
It took
it's
a long time to like
time
yeah.
and financial investment.
Yeah. But at the same time, if tomorrow Games Workshop as a company were to shut its doors and not produce any more 40K content, it wouldn't take away from the enjoyment I had putting them together, painting them, playing with them with my friends, and playing with playing games with them and all that other stuff, and coming up with when you come up with your own commander and his little backstory and all that kind of stuff, and um,
At
it
some
doesn't take
It'd
away
be a
from that.
collectible,
Yeah.
surely.
Well, it depends how well you paint it, I guess. Me, not so much.
Is there a certain amount of snobbery in that as well?
Me not
Do
being
people
very good, no. But
do,
so
but
I know some very, very good miniature painters. So I'm aware of what the standard of what a good miniature is, and I'm not near that.
do they look down upon those who don't quite, fit the standard?
Not no, not if not the ones that I was aware of, but there are definitely techniques that are looked down upon, like painting techniques. Like I didn't know this when I first started painting, but there's like dry brushing, over brushing, paint blending. There's like different types of paint do produce different effects. Yeah, this is why it's a nerdy hobby.
Love it though. I just See,
It's
that's the kind of thing I can't let myself get into because it would consume me. It
like
would.
how old are your kids now?
Well, so the youngest is 10.
Okay, so if you get him into the hobby now, he will never have money to buy drugs.
I don't- Okay,
Like
I
seriously,
like that argument. That's their
these
advertising
like
tagline.
yeah, like these collectible like and especially when you get into like I knew a lot of people who were like they were tournament card game players like Magic the Gathering, and it was a particular I think it was Vanguard Power of the Vanguard was the card game. And these guys would spend the majority of their paychecks to the point where they were doing the month on 7p noodles from Asda. Like it was that kind of obsession with them. And obviously, when that's your entire life, I guess you become very protective of it. And you don't want it to change because then you would like with that kind of a investment.
You've sacrificed, definitely.
Well, you're basically doing the is it Mortimer, whichever Duke at the end of Trading Places. If it all changes the next day, you're
Yeah.
like,
God, that's like even in my kind of collecting days, I never. Yeah, I had kids young, so I couldn't fully kind of
you
throw
can't. Yeah,
myself into anything. It was bits
yeah.
and pieces, and
Without the disposable, you can't go down the rabbit hole, can you? Yeah.
I mean, but my but I've got a 16-year-old as well, or 17 now, and he
Oh,
likes buying Pokemon cards, and he doesn't do anything with them. He likes almost likes the art and the yeah the fact
it's the same
almost
thing
as
as the yeah,
just collecting them. But
yeah.
he said I'd like to kind of know how to play it. But I was like, well, you're looking at the wrong guy here. I've
Yeah.
no idea. Um, and
I'm all
it's
over the internet. There's so like just YouTube how to play the Pokemon card game, and
yeah.
there will be somebody. If there's not 1,000 of those videos, I would be
Surprised.
yeah.
Yeah, and I won't say that actually because then he'll teach me how to play it, and I'll,
And that's
I'll
it.
have to play it with him.
Yeah.
Oh. But I've really enjoyed this because I don't often get to unleash my I mean I have a what I class as a kind of geek side, but it's well as I appreciate now relatively subject. You know, it's film, it's a bit of comic, but I kind of like lots of things.
It's the same sort of thing. Like comedy is a pretty nerdy thing to be doing, like to do as well. Like I've not met anybody in comedy that doesn't sort of fit into that doesn't have that kind of those qualities in them. Because every comedian I know knows whatever comedian inspired them or they enjoy watching backwards. They know all of it
Yeah,
to the point where they could probably quote you 99% of somebody's act of an hour. I'm the same as well. Like from like the stuff I love, even from like as far back as like, I haven't watched Bill Hicks Relentless in a long time, but I bet I could tell you the majority of the jokes. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, oh good set, and yeah, it is because I think if you do love something, and I think the word well, it's nice. I like the fact that the terms kind of geek and nerd, they're kind of I know the words have been reclaimed now, and
I'm
yeah,
still a
you
big fan of yelling it from across a field at like so Teddy Rocks again. So the 501st were there, the guys that are all in the Stormtrooper and Darth Vader outfits for it's like a charity organization. They do marches around and all that kind of stuff. They take
yeah.
pictures and they're really good for that kind of stuff. And I was stood at one end of the crew field and they'd raised the Mandalorian flag and I just like, but then you're exposing your own nerdiness because you know that's a Mandalorian flag.
No, but I think it's more accepted now. I say accepted. No, it's not. Yeah, it used to
People are
be
more
that
aware
kind
of
of
it.
basement kind of
Yeah.
thing, didn't it? Yeah,
Well, yeah, and there's been a lot of programs that have brought it to the fore. Obviously, The Big Bang Theory is the big one, but I
there's
don't
still
like the big.
massive
Yeah,
stereotypes in it.
Yeah,
So
like I don't like the Big Bang Theory because it is still essentially making fun of.
yeah,
It's not but it did help to bring all of that to the mainstream. And again, it's another one with you whether you like them or not. You're aware of Critical Role, the D&D podcast where they do like 3 hour
do you know what? I think I know
sessions.
someone who's on it or been on it.
So they've just well, they haven't just done, but they've done like 2 seasons of a cartoon based on their initial adventure. So like
Oh
they've
wow.
managed to get, yeah, they've got an Amazon cartoon of it. The what's it, the I can't remember the name of the group that they were because they've done so many series now, so I can't remember what the original one was. They, like I said, they've got 2 series of a cartoon on Amazon.
So is
They're all a
that
bunch
it?
of voice
Yeah.
actors anyway, so it's all.
Oh wow. Well, it goes to show there's need out there. I mean, even if you look at something like Stranger Things, yeah,
That's
that's
another,
kind of
yeah, another one, yeah.
brought back D&D massively
Oh yeah, yeah.
because everyone's just like me. It was like, well, I kind of always wanted to, never did. I was like, no, I'm going to do it now, and still haven't. But hopefully, it
Then you got
has
to
brought
read like
this new
four really
generation.
thick books. And
Like, oh, this seems like a lot of work.
every couple of months, a new one comes out that everybody wants to play with, and you've got to.
just yeah, and ends up being a pay to play scheme. Right. I say I
And we
have.
make it better. That's the
Yeah,
that's the crux of the matter.
this is the bit like I've I've thoroughly enjoyed this because I got to show a little bit of my kind of geekdoms of fandoms and bits, but it's I love knowing that people just love things and they get excited. But I hate that people hate things just for the sake of hating it or because of the
Yeah,
mob mentality.
but at the same
Um,
time, I love that people hate things as much as they do. Sorry, no, sorry. I hate that people love things as much as they do
yeah,
because the fact that they love it as much as they do, it ruins it for everything, like all of it. Like they just it brings everybody into their
okay, so Colin, how then? How the time's now? How do you make it better?
I'm calling it the Wadge method
Wedge, the wedge method.
from Four Lions. That's all I've really got, which is blow up the internet.
Just
It's like it's kind of something that
just blow up the
just
internet.
blow up the internet. No, like we need to. Again, it's kind of silly, but we need to encourage more people to act like Teddy Roosevelt.
Right.
So, so like Teddy Roosevelt is a guy like he was born with childhood asthma and other maladies and all that kind of stuff, and he basically cured himself of it of playing in the alpine woods. So like he just basically spent his childhood as an outdoorsman. At 9 years old, he wrote a paper that got published called "The Natural History of Insects." 9 years old.
Wow.
So like anybody who collects bugs is a nerd. There's no right.
Yeah, no one's gonna deny that.
Like he went on holiday with his parents to the German Alps, and they went on a camping excursion and all that kind of stuff. And he got, like, by his own biography, roughly handled by some local German boys. So rather than being down on his luck and being depressed about that, when he got back to the wherever they were staying, he found a boxing instructor and took up boxing, and apparently it never happened again. And then,
Oh,
and so he's a what's it? He was Nobel Peace Prize winner, was a politician and a rancher at the same time. Became the president, got shot. Giving a speech and got patched up, and whilst the guy was being arrested and taken away, was talking smack about him as he was being led away, and carried on with the
and
speech.
then went on to star in Night in the Museum. So
Right, exactly.
he's had quite a career.
And yeah, and that guy was a massive nerd, but was a bit of a action nerd as well, which I think we should all aspire to be. I
Action
mean, that's
nerd.
what like everything that we love has that action hint to it, doesn't it? And like I think it's a Joe Rogan quote, but you should try and act as though you're the hero in your own action film. Like it's one of the reasons why I think all men should be able to do what's called a muscle up, which is a pull up where you pull yourself up to your thing just in case you're being chased by baddies
Yeah.
across a rooftop and you've got to jump onto a waiting helicopter by the skid. Because it might not ever happen, but if it does, you want to know you can do it.
I'm the first one dead. I tell you that if there's anything that happens, I'm the first one gone. I'll just
Yeah.
sacrifice myself. It'll be easier on everyone. I love
And
that
like,
action nerd. That is going to be my new favorite. Because you know what, I had live shows at Portsmouth Comic Con, and there was this dude. He was like 6'5", built like natural build, done up as Superman. Right? No one's gonna walk up to him and goes, "Oh mate, you're nerd. Oh, look at you, what a nerd!" Because he would turn around and just lay them. Like he would literally just lay them out.
I was
That's an
in the Navy.
action
Yeah,
nerd.
I was in the Navy for 6 years. And like some of the nerdiest people were also some of the most dangerous people. Like the people who had like the really nerdy hobbies and stuff like that. Not all of them by any means, but like like we had a pair of Marine snipers on for a golf trip, and they were both like massively into these books that they got me into called the Powder Mage trilogy, which, which is a great series of books. They were talking about it for ages, and they were two of the nerdiest people I've ever met, but they were also Royal Marine snipers. They
Yeah.
were they were really dangerous guys. They were like, and
It's
like
almost so it's like it's that obsession with the
yeah,
craft, right? So it almost
yeah.
manifests just in different ways of. But that's really interesting though. That is it. That's why I was never a marine sniper because
Well, because
I
you just
couldn't
weren't
fixate.
interested.
Yeah,
No, there's a lot of reasons I wasn't either.
I can't do a
That's
pull up either.
because, mate, lying out in the middle of a field is not my idea of a good time. Like that's.
Unless there's a few ciders and some
Well,
music
no,
playing.
they go all the way up to Scotland, and it's in the Highlands in the winter. No,
That's far
no,
too much effort. I'm not reading a Dungeons and Dragons book. I'm not going crawling up in the Highlands.
nah. I'm quite happy
Far
sat on
too
a big
lazy.
grey battleship in the Caribbean drinking rum. But
Yeah.
like there's a lot like there's a lot of I think like you must have seen those memes on the internet where like there's a guy who's clearly like an academic college kid and like a muscle bound dude and the college guy is going like, oh, instead of lifting weights I was lifting books and for every muscle group you got and like Socrates, the father of modern thinking, was like during debates and stuff like that, he would stand in front of the people he was debating and flex in front of them, and like, and
Really,
if he
was he
didn't
proper
like,
built, was he?
he was so his big quote is was it no man has the right to be an amateur in the aspect of physical training. It is a shame for a man not to know the strength and beauty his body can produce, something like that. He would like because ancient Greece, they all wrestled, they all the Olympic Games and all that kind of stuff. It's citizen army. He was like a champion wrestler. He won the Olympics and stuff like that. Apparently, like obviously ancient Greece, but he's that kind of guy and father of modern thinking. And then there's a Roman quote as well, which is if you separate your books from your fighters and your gymnasiums from your academics, you'll have your thinking done by cowards and your fighting done by fools. And like that's another good quote. And we're supposed to be well-rounded human beings. You're supposed to live in both aspects of this world. Like one is physical and one is more enlightened. That's part of the great bit about being a human being. Um, and I think
No,
that's another.
that that is a really great way of thinking because I think historically we're taught of well, way back to kind of Neanderthals and all that where you've got the strong versus the intelligent and then or the strong and intelligent. That as it goes through, it's always I don't know, maybe just kind of media and movies, especially during the 80s and stuff, where the nerds got if you're book smart, you put in the locker in the bin, that and the cool jock was the one that kind of ruled supreme, and it kind of almost set this precedent that you can't be both, and if
Yeah,
you were both, you were an outsider because you get the I don't know emotional jock and they're ostracized
yeah.
by their peers, or you get the cool nerd who's like, oh, it's it it doesn't cross, but in the reality, actually, it it is the case, and there's nerds out there who can do way more press ups than me. I'll tell you that.
We
Um,
are like people who are really into fitness, especially when they're like they're really proper bodybuilders. That's
that's
because it's such a it's another scientific um thing you've got to look into because you got
yeah,
to count macros. You've got to work out what your calories are. You've got to weigh your food. You've got to know exactly what your body fat percentage is and all that kind of stuff. You've got to know how much like all the different minerals that are going into that. Tell me that's not nerdy.
love it,
Yeah.
nerds. Hey, Instagram models, right? They know the algorithms of it. They know the times, they know the dates, they know the trends that work. Nerds. Everyone's nerds.
Everybody's a nerd at some point, at
Right.
something.
And do you know what, guys? That's how it's made better, right? It's not changing things. It's not or it it's getting people to understand that
I don't know that
actually
everybody's a
we're all a bit
nerd.
nerdy. Yeah, we're all a
I don't
bit
know that
nerdy.
everybody is because because you have to have a real obsession about that. Like a dude that just goes to the gym and eats right, he's not a nerd.
But not at the gym, but maybe like so I would class myself so I say nerdy, like I've got things I enjoy. Get me in front of an Excel or a PowerPoint, I'm your guy. I will create magic because I watch videos and I study it.
I wish I'd have paid more attention to that sort of thing. I'm terrible at it. I wish I'd have known more.
So sad how much I once my greatest achievement. Now, bearing in mind, I have a 20-year strong marriage and 5 children. My greatest achievement
Yep.
was a 24-page power Excel spreadsheet that interlock, and there was formulas for days, and you could update
Yeah.
one thing and it gave you projections and graphs, and it was it's like the best meal you've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
I understand. Like I've had to do a lot of PowerPoints. So PowerPoint is one of the programs I am pretty okay with. And yeah, some of the PowerPoints I've had to do, I've been very pleased with.
point.
Yeah, there's
it's,
been
it's so sad. I
yeah,
love this year. I'm there like I love PowerPoint. Like,
yeah, yeah.
but that's
I mean,
it,
I hate
right?
it. I hate sitting through a PowerPoint. Like, if you
Oh
put up a
God, yeah,
PowerPoint, I'm probably going to lose interest really
yeah,
quickly. But if I'm doing a PowerPoint
yeah.
now, like,
If you're doing a PowerPoint, you've got 4 slides and I'm out.
yeah.
Me, I've created this monstrous beauty over 30. Oh well, actually 94, I think is my biggest. But that's because of all
Now,
the
have you
transitions.
timed yourself giving it before giving the PowerPoint before any so you know exactly to the second how?
Yeah, I've got all my transitions and my more. I've got it. I've got gifts. I've got everything in there, and the whole thing just runs smoothly. I've recorded them
Don't even need the
as
clicker.
that downloaded as MP4 or
Oh,
exported to MP4 and just talked through it.
yeah, strong,
It's love it.
strong.
But what
I will be taking no questions.
out mic drop. But I think that's what it is. Look, maybe people haven't discovered it yet, or maybe people have got this preconceived misconception of what being a geek and a nerd is, and
And the
it's
problem is, it's the people in the fandoms that have confirmed these stereotypes. It's um,
I'm not one of them, so
yeah.
I'm not part of it, or I'm not as deep into it. Well, do you know what? Maybe it's not that. Maybe you enjoy that fandom, but you're a massive geek when it comes to cooking Italian food and knowing the
I mean,
weights and
like the
measures.
Great Bake Off and all that. Yeah,
Yeah,
all that
like
kind of thing. Yeah,
geek. I'm
yeah.
gonna walk down the road now. You've inspired me. Walk down the road, geek. Just start throwing it at everyone. But people, do you know what it is? It comes down to, and we get this a lot. What it boils down to is this acceptance of others, acceptance of yourself, enjoy what you want, love what you do. And you know what? If someone else doesn't do something the same way as you, don't worry about it.
I mean, like, something changing in something changing in what you love later down the line doesn't change what happens with what happened when you fell in love with that particular piece of media, whatever it may be a book, film, whatever. If they change it further down the line, it doesn't desecrate or the plot eventually meanders around. I mean, Jesus, like the mountains that people look at are different 20 years later, or everything changes.
The
And
partner, the partner
yeah,
you're with, if you are in a long-term relationship, the person you are and the person you're with are not the same as when you got together 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
yeah,
It's just the same metaphor.
yeah.
Right.
And I think for a lot of it's a song lyric from again from my youth. Um, I remember a lot when because everybody gets wrapped up in their own nonsense every now and again, and that's you're putting a lot of importance on something you're really just playing a part of. And
Love it.
that's what you're doing. You're in any kind of thing you're entertaining, you're playing the part of in your head, and that's why you're getting so excited about it and all that kind of stuff. Even though if you're getting wrapped up about a lot of characters, there's something quite wrong with you. Like I grew up reading Hellblazer comics, and if I started thinking John Constantine was like a like a role model. But yeah, you're just playing a part of something in your own head, and it's not that important as it goes. It's something you're entertained by, but it's always going to be there. We have the ability now. It's not like somebody played like a jazz break that they might not ever play ever again. Like people don't, you don't see people in those sort of jazz bars get upset, like, oh, I should have recorded that. It'll never be the same again. That's the point. Like that's the sometimes it's
Live in the moment.
yeah.
Grant, where I'm gonna end it because this is a conversation that I could have for 3 hours.
Yeah, I could go on
This
this for
is
ages. Yeah,
because there's so much of it, and I love the way you've summarized it and you've kind of put it into context that yeah, yes, there's this tribalism, but also actually it's not just the stereotypical kind of geek outlook that we've been force fed
yeah,
over the years. It's a bit in all of us about something, and if there's not, that's okay.
yeah.
If but
Not everybody's
probably is.
interested.
Yeah, not everyone. Oh, right. That I'm right. Give us. I feel it has been made better because people just need to look inside themselves. So as we wrap this up,
Actually,
please
they need to look outside of themselves. They need to,
look outside. That's
yeah.
look every, but don't judge. That's another thing. Don't judge others just because it's not.
There's some things you should probably judge people on.
Well, yeah, but
Again, like again with the Vanguard cards. There's a lot there. Like, there's some very questionable animation, isn't there? Like there's a lot of like.
I love that.
like-
Yeah, no, it's all about doing what you love, but also actually there is this.
but also, be aware there are some lines we shouldn't be
There
crossing.
are
Like,
so lies. There are so love what you do, but actually just
but you know what?
just watch yourself. Don't cross that line. Right. Everyone check out Grant's social media. Grant Allen. If you see his name pop up on a show, go and watch him. Grant, you are a very funny guy, but I was not expecting this level of geek. Like it's been so good, and I love it.
It does shock people. Like I'll show up to a gig in like blue jeans and a leather jacket, and I'm 6'2" and pretty broad and all that kind of stuff, and I'll just sit there and nerd out with it with the other comedians.
Love it. Here. So was it Hero Nerd? Hero geek,
The action
hero
nerd.
geek. Action nerd, that's the one. I need
Do you
to.
know what? That might end up being a special.
Do you know
That
what?
might...
That is the name, and I want royalties because I've got it
Yeah,
recorded first.
yeah.
Right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Check out the Geoff Jones and Friends on YouTube, and there's Better with Geoff on Twitter and Instagram and places like that. Find Grant. Grant, what social medias are you on? So you got the Facebook.
On Instagram and Facebook. The Instagram one is a load of numbers, but again, if you go Grant Allen, there is a picture of me on the obviously on the Instagram. You should be able to find it. I am on Twitter as well, like X, but I doom scroll on that on the toilet. That I don't really do much else.
I know it's gone that way. Well,
It's quite fun. It is.
I'll have all your links in the bio as well.
Yeah, thank
Keep
you.
an eye out, Grant. You're a hilarious guy, and go and find. I really appreciate your time. All there is for me to say is thank you everyone for listening. Like, subscribe, but then my kids keep telling me I've got to say that, but I hate it. I feel really dirty.
You got to absolutely like and subscribe.
Just have to.
Leave a comment. That's also another a good way to go.
Thing is that leave a comment or just think something and I'll find it. But all there is
For your friends.
Time. Tell you, make a card of me and put it in a game. No, that's too far. Right. All there is time for me to say.
Write your postcard on a self-addressed envelope.
Do you remember? Oh, you're self-addressed.
Blue Peter, I remember. Self-addressed envelope with a postcard inside.
That's it. So make sure you send a stamp. Thank you all for listening. It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Grant. Say goodbye, Grant.
Bye, Grant.